Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Podcast Conversations on Philippine History, Politics, and Society. We are your hosts. I am Lee Candelaria.
I am Vecal Porha.
And I'm Joselito Ebro. In this new episode, isa na namang iconic everyday object ang pag-uusapan natin. At ito ay yung banig. Nakatry na ba kayo makahiga sa banig?
Oo naman.
Ako, oo.
Bumabakat pa nga, di ba?
Sa muka. Ay, sa pisngi.
Sa muka.
Ako talaga meron akong memories ng banig bilang lumaki sa banig. Ito yung after mo matulog, paggising mo, irorolyo mo, ganyan, or itutupi, no? Oo. In a way, we can say, no, that the banig literally grounds Filipino life. Kasi higaan siya eh. But it can be used for other things rin naman. Di ba nga yung pamaypay, gawa rin technically sa banig, no? Or yung iba pang mga items na pwedeng paggamitan ng banig, or any banig woven material like bags. For example, in 2012, a massive 50 square meter Philippine flag made entirely from banig was unveiled for Independence Day. And the organizers called it a symbol of our risk-taking heritage, linking this everyday object to the highest ideals of our nation.
Pang-entry ba yan sa Guinness Book of World Records? Hilig sa ganyan.
For
Hilig sa
sure.
ganyan eh. No? Di ba sa Marikina, gawa rin sila ng malaking sapatos.
Oo, yeah.
Pero alam mo ba, interesting, yung itong Guinness pala, hindi naman to, nothing, it's basically a marketing company.
For sure, yeah, oo,
Yung
no?
Guinness.
Kung sino lang gustong kumuha ng magpa-certify sa kanila, kunyari, magbabayad ng fee and so on, then you can just say na,
True.
we're Guinness certified, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, but here's something incredible, like for real. Archaeological evidence found in Tabon Caves shows that the fundamental techniques for making banig go back to like 39,000 years ago. So that's like 31,000 years older than what we previously thought was the oldest mat-making evidence in Southeast Asia.
Matagal na nga ito. Pero even today, no, ang nakakalungkot lang. For example, yung mga weavers in Basay, Samar, sometimes earn only around 150 pesos a week for their craft. So we're looking at an object that spans from prehistoric caves to modern catwalks, from sacred rituals to social enterprise.
And yet, ganun lang yung yung kinikita ng mga grabe, kawawa. Anyway, pag-usapan natin yan this episode, no? We will trace the banig from those ancient stone tools in Palawan through centuries of quiet persistence under colonial rule to its current transformation in the hands of national living treasures and contemporary designers. So, let's begin.
So the story starts in the Tabon Caves of Palawan around 39,000 BCE. Nung 2023 lang, researchers published groundbreaking findings in PLOS ONE, PLOS1, where they analyzed stone tools and found microscopic wear patterns, striations, and micro-polish that showed that these tools were used for sewing, splitting, and chopping plant fibers.
So, imagine, these ancient people were already processing bamboo and palm materials with the same fundamental techniques that modern weavers use today. So, for example, pag pinanood nyo yung mga manugbanig sa Antique today doing pagriras, or stripping thorns from leaves, or a Sama weaver in Tawi-Tawi cutting pandan into strips, they're performing actions that connect directly to those prehistoric tool users.
Pero linawin pa din natin yung technical distinctions among mats, no? So in the old Mentrida lexicon from the Spanish colonial era, yung crucial separation between paghabol, which is weaving textiles from spun fibers on a loom, and lala, the plating of reeds of leaf fronds into mats and baskets. So itong lala, yung ginagamit sa paggawa ng banig.
Yeah, so kumbaga, this distinction places banig in a completely different technological lineage from other indigenous fabrics or weaving practices, di ba? Katulad ng paggawa ng inabel or tinalak. Kasi sa lala or paglalala, you harvest a leaf, treat it, and plate it directly into its final form. So walang spinning thread na involved diyan. No complex apparatus, 'di ba? So the weaver engages directly with the plant material itself.
And different communities develop their own mythologies around this craft, no? Sa Ifugao, their deity Punholdayan taught them weaving, no? Sa Bilaan naman, galing daw sa goddess na Foralo. Tagolwanen, mat weavers of Bukidnon, believe their beautiful designs are blessings from Magbabaya, the so-called divine spirit.
Yeah, and by the time Magellan arrived in 1521, the banig is already fully integrated into the life of everyone across the archipelago, no? Even Antonio Pigafetta, yung chronicler, repeatedly noted that local chieftains had the Europeans sit, eat, and sleep on palm mats. This was the surface for hospitality, for marking sacred spaces, for community negotiation. So it's really central, no, to the life of individuals and communities.
Yeah. At isa din ang banig sa mga kinakalakal ng mga panahon na to. So, pre-colonial communities used banig for barter in their trade networks, which tells us the craftsmanship was widely valued and its worth commonly understood. Archaeological evidence backs this up. Halimbawa, may mga nakita na imprints of woven materials on pottery from as early as 500 BCE, particularly on burial jars from Sarangani province.
At hindi madali yung paggawa nito, no? Yung creation process itself was already sophisticated. For example, yung sa Libertad Antique, who work with barrio leaves, no? They have at least 12 distinct name steps. Pagsasa for harvesting with an arc-shaped blade called sanggot, paghapnig for bundling, pagriras for stripping the thorn. So, mahaba at komplikado.
Oo, meron pa yan Meron pa yan yung pagbulad, no? Where you literally binibilad yung fibers to strengthen them and give them that shiny brown tone. Pagpalpag, where they beat the leaves against a flat stone with a wooden club. Paglikid, where you repeatedly roll and unroll to maintain the suppleness. Each step has its own name, its own technique, very specific, passed down through generations.
Yes. Tapos yung colored mats naman, yung dyeing process, very interesting din. Some traditions still use natural colorants. So, halimbawa, the Blaan still use turmeric roots for yellow, knalum bark for black, anato seeds for orange. The Sama sometimes add coconut oil to their dyes for the subtle gloss. Yung nakikita natin na kintab, kumbaga, ay galing sa coconut oil.
Then finally, the weaving itself, no? Pagkulhad, shredding leaves into uniform strips. Pagkupis, folding them for plating, establishing the taytay framework that determines the mat's final size. The main plating called pagrara and the edge work hurip and gutab, where they fold and tuck the strands to lock everything in place.
Throughout the Spanish colonization, 1565 to 1898, the banig survived through what we might call strategic ordinariness. No, perhaps the Spaniards saw it, higaan lang yan, no? Hindi naman yan, hindi na kailangang supilin yan, no? Pang araw-araw na gamit, no? But while the Spanish exported fine nipis fabric made from abaca to international markets, yung banig remained primarily for local consumption.
Yes, and while they really tried, nasupilin yung mga political, religious, and even economic practices which they deemed as competitive, yung banig, halimbawa, ay isa dun sa mga cultural objects of everyday use na pinayaan nila kasi harmless nga, di ba? So but banig during that time, was so essential for basic sleeping, for sitting down, di ba? Mm-hmm. So kapag tinry nilang palitan yung practices in terms of, creating these home objects, kumbaga, parang ang hassle, di ba? Parang mas, hindi siya strategic, kumbaga.
Yeah.
So, and so yung, yung continuance nung pagkagawa ng banig, it really wasn't seen as a resistance. So, kumbaga, kung tutuusin, its very ordinariness became its shield.
Although may mga maliliit din na pagbabago during the Spanish, or Spanish times, mats started taking on a commemorative role. For example, people ordered special mats for weddings, sometimes embroidered with the recuerdo, or the so-called Mr. and Mrs., followed by the couple's names. And the craft was becoming more decorative, more personalized.
Towns like Basay and Samar trace their mat-making industry directly to the Spanish period. By 1917, under American rule, Basay mats sold in nearby Tacloban were generating 25,000 pesos annually. Malaki yun during that time. Which goes out to show how banig had become a real commercial industry.
Yeah, and the American era from 1899 to 1946 also brought new patrons. You know, American administrators, talagang pinroject nila yan. Yung pag-promote sa mga craft. And they wanted, may demand, kumbaga, trip nila to kasi, di ba, exotic, and, you know, they like this romanticized themes of the beauty of the land and its people, di ba? At dahil ito yung demand, it influenced the designs of the banig, lalo na yung mga binibenta for export. Encouraging more pictorial styles beyond traditional geometric patterns. Dito sa pag-promote ng mga Amerikano ng mga crafts like, you know, basketry, weaving, yung pagbabanag. May kita yung yung economic thrust nila, yung economic agenda. Kasi sobrang nag-focus sila dito. Kung tutusin, 25,000 pesos annually was huge for that community, 'di ba? Pero yung level ng pag-focus nila sa craft, sa mga cottage industry like this, may kita na wala silang intention to industrialize the colony.
Yeah.
'Di ba? Like, bakit sila nag-focus sa mga ganito? Imbis na, yun nga, nagtatag na industrial development. Di ba? O kahit nga agricultural industry. Kasi nga, ayaw nila na maging competitive yung kolonya. Like, dyan lang. Di ba? Classic colonial capitalism.
And also, Americans formalized something that was already happening. Yung mga vocational schools taught female students weaving and basketry, while male students learned metalwork and agriculture. Yung mat weaving was already seen as women's work, no? These programs codified that gender divisions while preparing the craft for a wider market as part of a native handicrafts industry.
In the post-war years, the banig began transforming from folk craft into national symbol. Ito na yung panahon where the government would establish bodies to preserve cultural heritage. The National Commission for Culture and the Arts, created in 1992, was specifically mandated to support weavers, chanters, dancers, and other craftsmen.
The most significant recognition came through the Gawad sa Manlilikha ng Bayan, the National Living Treasures Award. So, two master mat weavers have received this presidential honor. Hadja Amina Api, a Sama weaver from Tawi-Tawi, was awarded in 2004. And she was known as the Weaver of Rainbows. Kasi innovative yung kanyang paggamit ng multiple colors in creating complex geometric patterns. Meanwhile, Estelita Bantilan, a Blaan weaver from Sarangani, received the award in 2016. So she's created some of the biggest, most subtly beautiful mats anywhere in Southeast Asia, using Romblon, Pandan, and natural dyes. So the NCCA helped establish a weaving center in her community to preserve the tradition. So itong National Living Treasures Award, ito yung version, ito yung counterpart kumbaga ng National Artist Award.
Yes.
Diba? So yung mga kinikreate nila na cultural object, not necessarily in the fine arts, diba, ay kailangan din ng recognition.
At nabanggit rin kanina, no, that during the 2012 Independence Day celebration, a giant flag made from Basay Banig was shared and showcased, and explicitly invoked a symbol of Filipino heritage and the fight for freedom. The humble mat had become this carrier of our highest ideals.
It's important to point out that the Philippines doesn't really have one banig tradition. Iba-iba across the archipelago yung tradisyon ng paglalala, no? Reflecting, of course, yung diversity ng kultura. The materials themselves tell a story. Pandan, for example, grows along the limestone coasts of Tawi-Tawi, no? Tikog grass, nag-grow naman yan sa mga swamps ng Samar. Rono reeds grow in the Cordillera Highlands, and sesed rushes in Mindanao's floodplains.
Yeah, and the Sama of Tawi-Tawi create mats with muted colors. Tapos mas malambot, remarkably, yung banig nila. Kasi they beat the pandan leaves repeatedly. Tapos yun nga, katulad ng binanggit kanina, nag-a-add sila ng coconut oil para makintab. And their patterns are usually geometric, So, stripes, multicolored squares, zigzags, yung mga ganyan. Tapos sa kanila, exclusively women's work ito and passed down through matrilineal lines.
At sa mga Bajau naman, those are traditionally boat-dwelling people. They make mats that reflect their life at sea. So may mga vibrant, bold colors na silang na idinadagdag doon. Spontaneous motifs of crabs, waves, and boats. And even their mats are stiffer than Sama mats because their preparation process is less intensive. But the design practically shimmer with maritime energy.
Ang galing, no? Yung sa Maranao naman at sa Maguindanao, they create something unique in the Philippines kasi yung mga mats nila is round. They use sesed rush and design spiral patterns radiating from the center or colored concentric bands. So, no one else in the archipelago makes circular banig. And point out ko lang din, no, mention natin kasi may nag-comment sa episode natin on the Okir, if you remember our episode on the Maranao weaving, di ba? Nabanggit niya na yung dalawang types kasi ng Okir, Okir Abay, which is the women's Okir, is geometric. Tapos yung Okir Adato, yung sa male, is curvilinear. Kaya daw ganon kasi yung weaving is a woman's activity. At sa weaving, mahirap nga namang gumawa ng mga curves, kaya geometric.
Wow.
Samantala, yung Okira dato is curvilinear and it's more male kasi daw, yung Okira dato ginagamit mostly for etching sa metal,
engraving,
which is a male activity. Kaya ganoon yung kanilang
Wow.
Ang galing, no? I just had to mention kasi may isang listener tayong nagbanggit noon. But yeah, interesting sa akin tong round mats na to sa Maranao and Maguindanao kasi as we mentioned, we don't see it anywhere else in the country. And across all these traditions, it's important to mention that mat weaving remains overwhelmingly a women's domain. Grandmothers teach mothers who teach daughters. Women are the keepers and transmitters of this 39,000-year-old knowledge. And I think ang madalas ino-overlook kapag ina-identify ang isang practice with women we think na it's a light activity, but actually weaving is such a physical activity, no? Yung paghahapi at paglalala, mabigat na trabaho yan kung tutuusin. Kasi weavers have to sit on the floor for hours, they have to use their hands, feet, sometimes even their mouth to hold strands in place.
Tama, I think we should also mention how the banig defines social space in Filipino homes. Kasi it marks where we eat, where we sleep, saan tayo tumatambay kapag magkukwentuhan, di ba?
Yeah.
During festivals like the Banigan Festival in Antique or the Banig Festival in Cebu, performers wear elaborate costumes made from banig material. Diba? So yung mat, yung banig, nagiging siya. Yung banig na ginagamit higaan, nagiging object siya ng mga ganitong klaseng celebration at different form of art.
Sa Romblon naman, they make special mats with delicate lace-like borders from buri palm leaves. And hindi siya pang araw-araw na ginagamit kasi meant for ceremonial or ceremonies, mga celebrations. And there are ceremonial floor liners specifically for newly married couples. Para sa sa first dance, kumbaga. And the mat becomes part of this sacred ritual marking for a new beginnings for their family, of course.
Today's reality is harsh when it comes to the banig. In the early 2000s, a family-sized basay mat that take around 3 days to make sold for only around 200 pesos, no? Mga $3.60 lang yan. No?
Grabe.
And some weavers reported earning only 150 pesos per week in 2016. Meanwhile, sobrang daming mga cheap plastic mats that flood the market.
Yun nga. Pero may mga counter-movement din, no, that gain strength recently. Like social enterprises are transforming the industry. A good example of this would be the Basay Association for Native Industry Growth, like Banig Incorporated.
Galing.
It includes naipilit.
Galing.
It includes over 1,000 weavers from 23 communities. And through partnerships with the International Labor Organization, they've standardized production and accessed premium markets.
Galing, no? Kasi because of this, yung mga weavers who earned below minimum wage now make around 300 pesos daily, on par na with regional standards.
Na doble.
Ang galing, a high quality handbag that once sold for 500 pesos, gawa sa banig syempre, now fetches 2,500 pesos or more. These aren't, charity projects. They are sustainable businesses treating weavers as indispensable partners.
Yes, so deserve yung mas mahal,
Yes.
mas mataas na halaga ng mga produktong ito. At I think dito mo rin talaga makikita yung yung benefit ng mga ganitong kooperatiba,
Yeah.
'di ba? So talagang nag-end up dun sa kamay ng mga workers yung kita. Contemporary Filipino designers are also reimagining the banig entirely. Halimbawa, yung isang brand na Lara, it creates wristlets and totes. Aishi Fashion makes slip-on shoes with banig accents. And designer Mako Custodio uses the banig weaving technique with discarded foil packaging and tarps for sustainable bags.
Meron din dyan yung from E. Murillo Furniture that use recycled plastic banig for contemporary chair seats. So yung traditional weave appears in modern interior design. Fashion houses feature banig on international runways, and the mat has moved from the floor to the catwalk. So, literal na talagang popular na siya.
And what's driving this isn't just aesthetics. Consumers now pay premiums for authenticity kasi, no? For the story behind the product, not just for the product itself. They're buying cultural preservation, women's empowerment, ethical consumption. The banig competes not on price against cheaper versions like plastic, but on meaning in a global market that values heritage and sustainability.
Yes, so yung challenge talaga dito ay, how do you maintain a kind of balance that would honor traditions and the immense skill of master weavers while embracing innovation and economic models that actually support them. So the banig needs both its ancient roots and contemporary branches para magpatuloy pa rin siya.
The Filipino banig connects 39,000 years of human ingenuity to tomorrow's sustainable design, all through the simple act of plaiting leaves.
Galing, no? Next week, ang pag-uusapan naman natin, isang bagong object, this time born from the ashes of war. It started as military surplus, then became part of our everyday life. Some say it's dying, others say it's evolving. Abangan niyo yan.
Yes, so maraming salamat sa pakikinig. Please follow us on social media and visit our website, podcast.org, para pakinggan ang mga past episode at past seasons. And as always, have a good day.